I'm rising up, I'm taking space. This is my time, this is my place. I'm stepping into my power now. No more asking why or how. I'm stepping into my power, it's clear. This is my moment.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Connection Currency. In a world full of noise and hustle, I always believe there's a real growth that comes from authentically connecting, not just performing. And with this in mind, and with the growth of some of my Facebook groups that went crazy, I decided to develop the Connection Currency. There's no right or wrong polished answers. I'm just really curious about what is behind businesses and what lights them up. Some of us are growing quietly, some of us are tired, some of us are succeeding and still having imposter syndrome and we're doubting ourselves. I'm hoping that creating an aligned community that feels supported, connected, and empowered will help other businesses along their way. And you might find somebody you connect with here. So that's my wish. It shouldn't never feel like we're shoving our business card at each other here. It's just how we get to know each other's businesses and how they tick and how we can connect with real people doing real things. And with that in mind, I would love to welcome the lovely Stacey Webb to the Connection Currency. Good morning, Stacey.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me, Robin. It's always a pleasure being in space with you.
I know I miss chatting to people, and this is the way I get to catch up, so it's pretty good.
I love it.
I'm
It's an
pretty
amazing
I'm
idea.
pretty pleased I was talked into this because of that reason. So we'll get kicking along, and I'll just ask you the same questions I ask everybody else. But you're going along, doing your thing, whatever your thing was, and you can talk us through that if you want to. Oh, the other thing I have to do, I just forgot. Trigger warnings. We're adults, so there could be language. I don't think Stacey would be using language, but anyway, you never know. But just a trigger warning, there could be strong language used. There could be triggers. There could be something that we talk about that could be triggering. So if you just check out the transcript before you jump on, if there's anything that triggers you, maybe jump off now and jump back on later. Um, Sorry, Stacey, I forgot about that. I just got
That's
prompted to
fine.
remember that. So you're kicking along doing your thing because I remember what your thing was. And then you decided to do something as else as well. And then all of a sudden you decide, oh my gosh, is this kind of a business and I'm doing this now for real? So how did that happen? What's your story? Tell me your story.
Yes. So my background has been a police officer. I was a police officer for nearly 20 years, and most of that was in criminal investigations, so as a detective. And I specialised in investigations of sexual assault and coronial matters. And with that, I was surrounded by people experiencing various amounts of trauma. And I really deeply wanted to be of support to them so it can not only help me investigate their matter, but also to be of support to them so I didn't traumatize them or re-traumatize them in a way as well. And with that, it really led me down the beautiful road and the rabbit hole of the nervous system so I could, have a better understanding on reactions and responses and how trauma can uh, be embodied into ourselves and different ways, and not only in a trauma response but how it can be conditioned in different ways of our behaviors going forward. And I absolutely loved it, and I very much use that in how I could support my victims and witnesses whilst being a detective. But it also made me realize how much I needed it for myself as well, and that we are not all immune
Yeah.
to nervous system work, and we all at times have obviously grown up with different conditionings, our own fears, our own traumas, our own stresses, and everything in between. So it really also led me down to my own healing journey through the lens of the nervous system, and in a somatic way, in a really more bottom up approach in how can we support ourselves when we're experiencing stress, overwhelm, fear, and trauma, and how we can do it in that way that is that can be and is somewhat different to talk therapy. My experience with talk therapy in the police force was not always positive. So I very much at that point kind of turned myself away from wanting to seek any type of support surrounding trauma. So getting this type of support through the somatic lens of the nervous system really opened myself up in a deep, nourishing way. And that was just my own personal experience with that. But our service is our medicine, and so I started studying in becoming a somatic practitioner because it was just something that really interested me. And again, I knew I could see how I was of being of deep support, not being a therapist to my victims and witnesses, but how I was creating and holding space so that they were able to tell me information that, is extreme, vulnerable, raw, and is still at times very traumatic for them to share, but something that I needed because it would be the ultimate key to an investigation as well. And when we're experiencing trauma, it can already affect our memory recall. And so I didn't want them to feel that they're not feeling safe enough to be able to share that information with it, because it's the ultimate thing, right? If you don't feel safe enough to share most raw, vulnerable details in that fear of being judged or everything else, you are not going to share it, and that potentially could be vital parts of information or evidence that would be able to help an investigation lead into different ways. And not only that, but also be able to help that victim and witness not having to come back in again to make an additional statement. So I was really trying to see how could I, work smarter, not harder in the sense about all that, but do it in a way because I deeply care about people. And that's why I joined the police force in the first place.
Yeah.
And so as I did all of that and I did my studies and stuff, and I started doing, so practices for my certifications and that, and people were like, Stacey, you are amazing at this. like I'd love to pay you. I'd love to pay you to have some more sessions. And then it sort of just kind of went, oh, actually, I probably need to start needing to set up something that is of substance. And it kind of sort of, made me sort of face the thing of, actually, Stacey, what you're creating is actually now a business. And I love it because intuition leads us in different ways. And I did have my own conditioning that I couldn't be anything else but a police officer because I joined when I was very young. So I was also very conditioned to thinking that my skills weren't transferable, that I couldn't do anything else, and if I did do something else, I would not be able to make the same money or if not more in what I was doing. So if intuition and everything was guiding me towards a business, I knew I would have instantly dismissed it because of my own subconscious fears around that and my own conditioning. So this was a beautiful way of how intuition's like, we're guiding you this way because you're not listening to us. And now here you are and you've built a business. And that was in 2020, and I have been here ever since. And I mean, since then it has grown from not only doing somatic work, but also been writing and publishing books. And I love writing, and I love that it's a beautiful way of connecting with people as well. And it's just been a beautiful blend of that. And I've been doing that ever since.
It's wonderful. I love it. And you're just perfect for it. You've just got that beautiful nature that just marries well with what you do. Like it's just made for you, I think,
Thank
I,
you.
I think I think the police force was your way of finding that. I think that's probably what happened.
Yeah, it is. I mean, my reason for wanting to join the police force is really wanting to be of support of people when they deeply need it. When people call triple O, it's, they're in fear of something that has just happened or something that they think is going to happen. And that's a really critical time. And, people who have had an interaction with a police officer, especially those moments, they
Mm.
remember that interaction, the
Yep,
time that perhaps,
absolutely.
a death message has been delivered,
Yeah.
or, being told of a car accident, or you've been in a car accident and they're coming and they're supporting you and helping you if you're trapped, to help you when you get out, and everything else in between. They remember that. And
Mm.
some interactions have been of support, and unfortunately some haven't. And that's embedded in our body. And I wanted to be there to make that difference. And I remember because I wanted to be a police officer when I was a teenager, and many people were like, Stacey, you're too sensitive.
Yeah.
You can't be a police officer. It's going to ruin you. You'll get injured. And, there are many different archetypes of police officers, and I know I'm a creator and holder of space, and that is deeply needed in that world.
Mm, mm.
And I love how I was able to show that I can do it in this way as well.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So I can see what lights you up, and I know what lights you up in your business, and it's just
Yeah.
lovely that you've found this. But when you have those days, like not every day in business is hunky dory. We all have those ups and downs. It can be quite a roller coaster.
Yeah.
So what lights you up? What keeps you going when times are tough and things are hard? What inspires you, or what makes you keep going and not give up?
Mm. It always comes back down to connection. And it's that connection to ourselves, connection to others, connection to earth, and connection to spirit, and spirit in whatever that may be for you, the universe, higher self, source, God, anything like that. When we allow ourselves that connection, we're showing ourselves that we're not alone, even though we feel alone. We are all interconnected, and that moment that I allow myself to connect, whether it's I connect outside, I have a beautiful jacaranda tree outside, and in my
Oh,
world, I share about my jacaranda tree all the
lovely.
time, right? And I love being out there and connecting with the earth out there. I live in the Blue Mountains, so I've got
I
beautiful
know.
area here, right? So I can have this beautiful connection. I can connect with others. I have 4 children, and you know, connecting with them, with my husband, with friends, and allowing this connection where I'm not just always a creator and holder of space, but that I can also be held as well, just being in company with someone, and connection with, with myself away from Earth, like actually giving myself time again, a business owner, a mother of 4, and we're in a neurodiverse household. So there's always something happening here, right? Having those moments of bringing forth stillness to myself, like that stillness, that solitude, that silence, that slowness, because I can be very good at being busy, and
Mm,
allowing myself to, even if it's a couple of minutes of having that, really makes a difference. And
mm,
that connection to spirit, in knowing that I'm not alone in this world, and that might be a devotion, that might be giving myself a time of bringing support, which accumulates all of the other connections I just mentioned. When I invite myself and give myself permission to connect, then
mm.
it's this reminder of embodiment to myself that even though I'm overwhelmed, or I'm feeling a bit in the darkness, or I'm feeling a bit alone, or everything else, I'm actually not truly alone, and I will always be held by connection.
Yeah, I love that. And that grounding and
Yeah.
jacarandas, I love. So being in Brisbane, we have beautiful jacarandas. Nothing like Grafton though. Grafton's pretty spectacular, but
Yeah, it is
but we
there.
do have our seasons of beautiful jacarandas, and I love that.
Yeah.
So talking about connection and being in the Blue Mountains, so you're a little bit out of the way. How do you authentically connect? How do you make connections with people? How do you form that sort of peer group, support group? Because when you're in business, we all need those connections that don't just give us shout outs, but also are there when we can talk business to business and go, like, are you going through this? So how do you make those really authentic, trusted, genuine connections?
Yeah, I felt like it's been a bit of a trial and error, and again, it's good because I'm putting myself out there. I can sometimes, when it comes to support to myself, be that introvert and pull myself to the side and back, and so really consciously, for me, making the choice to insert myself in spaces. And so for me to start with was inserting myself in online spaces, because again, like being in large groups for me is sometimes not really supportive. It depends on the type of group. And I will usually be in a group that will stand back and watch. It's probably the detective in me first to stand back and watch, where I feel accepted before I will lean in fully. So I did start with online spaces first, and seeing whether those online spaces really did feel authentically like where it was genuine connection, and not about, okay, now you've joined, now buy from me type thing.
Yeah.
And really just inviting myself in those spaces, and saying it's okay, Stacey, if one space wasn't the space for me, and trialing another space, and not going just because one space didn't work, it means you need to stop, like keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
And so doing that, and then I also then inserted myself into in-person spaces, and that's where I got to meet you. So it works
Yeah.
really well,
Yeah.
because I got to
Yeah.
meet you in those type of spaces. And from those spaces, you know, like speaking with you and Karen and PeaceNet, and I got introduced into another space that, you know, where I also got to feel that connection. And it was just, you know, it's actually having to put myself forward and
Yeah.
to give myself permission to insert myself in spaces and to give it a try. And
Yeah.
also whatever I'm, you know, wanting to is also what I'm willing to put in, right? So I'm
Yeah.
making sure I'm going in a way of really wanting to authentically connect with others, and I'm not shoving my service down people's throats either, right? I
Mm.
love hearing what people lights them up in their business, and I know when people can talk about their business in that beautifully and authentic way, and not where it feels like there's this heavy undertone in wanting to sell you something. And that is what I feel like as an intuitive, and I feel that and I can embody that, and I'm like, I want to know more about that person and
Yeah.
be more in those spaces. And you know, I love following them on social media, and I love commenting on their stuff and celebrating them and witnessing them and being a beautiful relationship, right?
Yeah. I
And that's
love
what I
that.
love about it.
Yeah, yeah, and I love that, and I did notice because you're that sort of person that does stand back a little bit, and I'm usually the person that goes, that person's alone and they need to be included with us. So I can be a bit like that. Sarifa will tell you.
Yes.
But and that
But I
was
love that.
like I rushed into the second, like I'd met you and Osmum and everything, and then I'm rushing around. We had we had been rediverted on our flights. I was supposed to be in Melbourne early that morning to just take in everything everybody was doing and take my time. And then they diverted us from, they put us on a later flight from Brisbane to Sydney and then Sydney to Melbourne. So I kind of rushed into that event and I was, oh my gosh, Stacey's here because I never expected to see you there. And that was your very first book. So that was The Intuitive
Was.
Detective. Yep. And
Yes, it
since then,
was.
you've had a second book.
Yeah, so since then, so The Intuitive Detective came out in 2021. Foundations of Tapping, Inviting EFT and Other Tapping Practices into Your
Yeah.
Life came in 2023. And
And
yesterday, my third book officially came
yeah.
out, which was Embodied Grace, Trust in Yourself, Healing Deeply, Expanding Fully.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you launched yesterday, so
Launched
that's
yesterday.
fantastic. Yeah, I love that. I love that. So you've got three books now, so this is so
Yeah.
exciting. So,
Yeah.
you know, people don't have to just connect with you; they can read your book and take away all your soulful messages and
Yeah.
techniques. The tapping, like I knew about the tapping, and then when you wrote the book, because I that came through the book awards as well, the tapping
It
book.
did, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a
And
talk at the at Sarifa's Book Awards. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I knew about that beforehand, but it just reignited the, oh yeah, that's like
Yeah.
that's a mechanism and I've forgotten all about that years ago because I used to sometimes use it on my kids when they were a little bit
Yeah.
overwhelmed, you know, with things. We'd sort of do those focus things. I don't even know if they remember, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And I'm all about like how can we support ourselves in our everyday life? Like it's amazing when we get to have like a beautiful, you know, hour session and really taking that time. Self again, that's a part of our connection to self and using connection to others, right? And that's definitely well nourishing and supportive to our nervous system. But I'm also very big about what happens when you go back to your normal everyday life and
Mm,
in allowing that integration to happen. And so supporting the rewiring of our brain and nervous system. And how that happens is by incorporating little things that we can incorporate into our everyday life, even when we're busy, even when we're doing all the things. And it can sometimes start to become this subconscious way of nourishing support. And that's what I love about it. And that's
yeah.
what I love supporting people about it, not just when you have a session with me, but actually to help you through in between. So at one point, you probably won't even need to have sessions with me unless it's maybe a maintenance session or something coming up because you have now got the tools to support you through your everyday life. And then when something big may be coming along or needing extra support, then you can come to me. But
Yeah.
it's not something that you need to rely on me for.
Yeah, yeah, it's wonderful. And it's wonderful that um you're in that space now.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, it's perfect fit and I love that. Do you do this online or just in person or how do
So yes,
you
I do them online. So I do have clients that's all over the world, which is amazing. Do online because the beautiful part of working with the nervous system as well is sometimes people genuinely feel supportive in doing it online because they're in their own space. And so that's a space where they can start to perhaps feel their own anchor of safety and cultivate more safety within the nervous system as we may be exploring and investigating in a sense, because it's kind of what it is, you know, a beautiful somatic investigation in what the body is sharing and revealing and everything in between. And it doesn't always need to share the story of the trauma. And for some people, it's supportive, but for other people, it's not, knowing that you don't actually need to share that to do this work in supporting your nervous system and allowing the release of anything that seems to feel overwhelming within. So yes, I do online. I do in-person workshops, and a bit of everything in between.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So I'll put all the links and everything in the details of this. And thank you very much. I've got to thank you very much for meeting with me. I know we don't have a lot of time, so thank you. I appreciate your time and I appreciate you, and thank you for being on here. I love this. So
Oh,
take care. We'll talk again soon. Thank
will
you.
do. Thank you.